Okay, by popular request, a brief response to one of Venom's recent videos. Firstly, given his recent antics, it seems inappropriate to keep referring to him as Venom. Maybe something a little more apt, like creationist drama queen CDQ. You know, after all that, I'm being hunted by psycho cyber ninjas, driven into a frenzied bloodlust by Thunderfoot's charged and hateful rhetoric, and have to shut down my account. And then, of course, not doing it. Or maybe Captain False Dichotomy, CFD, for overuse of the term "you have no other choices." But now, let's stick with the most fitting. Poster boy for creationist stupidity, PCS. Well, PCS, let's start with your inability to grasp simple non-Euclidean dimensionality. Now, I'm sure a lot of eyebrows have just furrowed at that, but it's really not that complicated. Not all dimensions can have any value. For instance, most people understand that absolute zero is the coldest you can get. You will recall that temperature is essentially a measure of the thermal motion of the atoms, and when the atoms are essentially stationary, you cannot get any colder. So asking what it looks like below absolute zero is a meaningless question. Speed is also kind of like this. Objects with mass cannot travel faster than the speed of light. Time, or more specifically space-time, is similar, and PCS's idea that it can be treated as a simple conceptual Euclidean dimension like length is fundamentally wrong. This is a large part of what Einstein figured out in the theories of general and special relativity. For instance, two twins are having dinner. One of them decides it would be really nice to have some Andromeda Coke with his fries and nips off to Andromeda at the speed of light. By the time he returns, his dinner partner will be about 5 million years old, while the guy who went to get the Coke won't have aged an instant. For those travelling at or near the speed of light, there is no such thing as time. It's always now. What's even more baffling is that PCS, who doesn't even have the rudimentary appreciation for time that I do, somehow thinks that his inability to understand the non-Euclidean dimensionality of time somehow is an issue for the variation of allele frequencies in population suffering environmental attrition. So, to summarize, PCS claiming that his inability to understand time disproves evolution is about as convincing as Arnie the Governator Schwarzenegger claiming that his inability to understand tidal physics disproves the existence of Vermont. Similarly, it is frankly baffling to see PCS, who doesn't even have an elementary understanding of merely special relativity, thinking that his intuition and hand-waving will provide a better insight into the pre-Planck epoch of the universe than the finest physicists' minds in the world, with their extensive knowledge of quantum mechanics, special and general relativity, and their efforts to develop the field of quantum gravity. There also seems to be a deal of confusion in PCS's mind between the Big Bang and his creationist ideas. The Big Bang, which PCS keeps referring to, is not the instantaneous creation of his creationist fantasies, which involve Magic Man poofing planets, stars, and shrubberies into existence over days. And yes, that is a strange timescale for a omnipotent, timeless magic skydaddy of PCS's fantasies to work on, and even stranger that in this creation story that he needs to rest for a time afterwards. Indeed, PCS's entire case seems to be based on the single point that the Big Bang theory involves time not existing before the Big Bang. He then waves his hand and says that he thinks that time didn't exist before Magic Super Skydaddy done it. Although absolutely nothing is offered to substantiate this, and notable by their absence are the quotes from PCS's Bronze Age myth book, where it is claimed that Magic Man created space and time. Curious omissions from a book which PCS believes was written by a timeless and omnipotent being. He then seems to suggest that because both his idea and the Big Bang have this single concept in common, that therefore his ideas are congruent with modern physics. Again, this is comparably convincing to claiming that modern physics and great space vegetabilism both agree that there is a maximum speed for objects with mass. therefore validating the great space vegetabilism's claim that the Earth's core is actually made of billions of Brussels sprouts. Oh, and for the record, PCS, Darwin's voyage was on the Beagle, not the Bugle. Bugle was where Spider-Man worked. And science does not claim that dinosaurs lived billions of years ago, but rather 65 to 230 million years ago. And finally, PCS, if the BBC saw the unholy bastardization that you have created from their natural history programmes, I'm sure they would throw an absolute hissy fit. You really do scrape the dregs from your deep barrel of creationist hypocrisy when you use the fantastic footage from natural history programs made to help people understand evolution and further their education in your efforts to poison the knowledge of mankind such that it is more in line with your dark age level of understanding. Best wishes, Thunderfoot.